sales, just advisory consulting is what I do.
Okay. Dick, you joined just in time to introduce yourself.
Hey, everybody. Good morning. Dick Flanagan, the CEO of Digital Health KC. This program that John runs has been going for a while and is really an important component of the digital health community. And appreciate all the work that you do, John, of bringing companies and ideas to the forefront. So thank you.
Thank you. Angie Reed.
Hi, had to unmute myself. I'm
Okay.
Angie Reed. I'm CEO and founder of Stroke Sisters, which is an app. It's early stages. I'm working on an app to help female stroke survivors recover with confidence and optimism. And I'm a two-time stroke survivor as well. And I'm a life coach to other female stroke survivors. And so I've found the need for this app and working on it. I'm working closely with Jim Starsev and some other folks helping me bring this to life.
That's great. We hope to have you with us as a presenter here soon.
Great.
Anurag.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Anurag Patel. I'm CEO and founder of Abada Health. We do predictive analytics and data security. I also work with John on the Digital Drive Health Innovation team.
Great. Bob Walls.
Hello. I have about 30 years of experience in technology strategy and innovation, really focused on commercialization, areas related to grant development, how you significantly enhance the ratio between ideas and products and the services creating revenue. Thanks.
Great. Chris Barton.
Hi, good morning. Chris Barton. I used to be at Cerner doing corporate development venture capital there. Now doing early stage investing. Good to see everyone.
Great and welcome. Chuck Schneider.
Yeah, this is Chuck Schneider, founder of Redpoint Summit. We focus on optimizing the electronic health record and making healthcare more efficient.
Thanks. Dan English.
Hey everyone, I'm Dan. I'm a project manager slash coordinator slash Swiss Army knife here at the KU School of Nursing.
Great. Danielle Jones.
Good morning, everyone. I serve as an executive with the Association for Women's Health, Obstetrics, and Neonatal Nurses, and we are looking at how nurses integrate digital technology at the bedside.
Great, thank you. Deb Cisco.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Deb Cisco. I'm the manager for patient advocacy and engagement over at University Health. Nice to be with you.
Nice to have you, Deb. Doug Hohulan.
I'm Doug Hohuland. Good morning. I work on AI in healthcare and other activities and responsible AI. I'm also an advisor on the advisory board for the KU School of Nursing.
Great, thank you. Doug Rogers.
Yes, good morning. I have to admit, I went for the unmute button when you said Doug Houlihan because I just heard Doug. But always good to have more than one Doug. I am a managing partner with Waypoint Healthcare Solutions. We are a focused consulting firm helping health systems design, implement, and manage patient engagement strategies. And we have a specific focus around voice artificial intelligence and care orchestration technologies. So happy to listen this morning.
Great, thank you for coming. Jeff V.
Hello, good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Finneregan. I've been in healthcare digital health sales for the last 10 years here in Kansas City. Currently doing some consulting work of business development and go-to-market enablement playbooks. But I'm here to network, so nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you. Jim Starsev.
Jim Sarsev with KC Digital Drive. Right, I'm on both my mobile and computer because I'm about to leave on that. So sorry if you're getting background noise on that.
Okay, John Rochelle.
Good morning, John Rochelle, Director for Digital Strategy and Innovation, University of Kansas Health System.
Great. Thanks, John. Kat Istis.
Hi, I'm Kat Istis. I'm a doctoral candidate at the University of Illinois, Chicago, and I've been conducting my dissertation research about the community information ecology here in Kansas City for the last couple years. And soon I'll be picking up a new position with St. Luke's Mid-America Heart Institute, and looking forward to joining that team.
Oh, great. Congratulations. Christy Bowling Demetz.
Morning, everyone. Christy Bowling Demetz, Director of Aging and Adult Services at Mark.
Kyle McAllister.
Hey everybody, Kyle McAllister, CEO and co-founder of Triley. We're a clinical trials tech platform helping sites better enroll patients.
And we look forward to your presentation next month.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Great. Linda Gerber.
Hi, Linda Gerber, Health Information Exchange Consultant, and also work with nonprofit Health Data Synthesis Institute. Thanks.
Thank you. Mariah Kranz.
Mariah Kranz, Program Director at Community Health Council of Wyandotte County, and getting ready to officially launch a data sharing network that I'm partnering with a couple people on this call with.
And we welcome you too to be as one of our panelists for the mother and an infant mortality forum that we're having at the end of the month. So thank you so much. Molly Brown.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Molly Brown, the director of the Heartland Telehealth Resource Center. We provide resources, education, outreach, and technical assistance to our tri-state area, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri.
Great. Thanks for coming. Dr. Love.
Hi, everyone. Dr. Nick Love, co-founder and CEO at Love Lifesciences. I think you'll hear a bit more about me pretty soon, so I'll keep it short and sweet.
Great. Dr. Sarani.
Hello, I'm Nima Sarani, and thank you for inviting me to speak today. I'm one of the ER physicians at Kansas University Medical Center. I'm also one of the faculties there, associate professor in the Department of Emergency Medicine. And I do a lot of sepsis management and sepsis care and quality improvement for the health system. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Ryan Rice.
Yes, hi. Sorry, I'm a little late. Ambassador for Blockchain and Healthcare Today, and CEO of Envelope, where we do radiology imaging for patients.
Great. Sarah Sork.
Hi, everyone. Sarah Sork, Program Director for Digital Strategy at the University of Kansas Health System.
Great. Steve Kropp.
Thanks, John. Steve Kropp. I'm the Director of Telehealth at the University of Kansas Health System.
William Crumpler.
Hi, William Crumpler. I'm a data analyst with KC Digital Drive, program analyst.
Thank you. Zach Gredlich.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Zach Gredlich with the KC Tech Council. We're a 501c6 nonprofit working as the voice of the tech industry in Kansas City. Really happy to be here. Thanks for having me. Apologize for keeping my camera off. I'm chasing a sick 9-month-old around the house at the same time as this call. So
oh, wow.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, good luck with that.
Thanks. I need it.
I saw Dr. Castro with us for a while. Is he still with us?
Yes, I am still here. ER doctor, and I have several AI companies that I own, and I'm currently advisor for the State of Texas Medical Association and the country of Singapore on digital health.
Great. Thank you for joining us. John Travis.
Hi, John Travis. I used to be at Cerner for many years, and I have my own consultancy for health IT and compliance.
Thanks, John. We have someone dialed in on the phone from 913 ending in 0940.
Yes. Sorry, I'm in transit now, but we'll be in visual shortly. But Scott Schuffelbein, I'm a partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers or PwC within the M&A deals practice, covering healthcare, kind of full continuum all the way from payer provider, pharma life sciences, and health tech.
Great. Thanks for joining us. Amy Garcia.
Amy Garcia at the University of Kansas School of Nursing, Director of the Kansas Nursing Workforce Center.
Thanks, Amy. Brandon Blaylock.
Good morning, Brandon Blaylock. I'm an EMR administrator for Swope Health Services. We're a FQHC here in Kansas City, providing healthcare to our underserved communities.
Thanks, Brandon. Is there anybody that I've missed? Okay. Well, let us go ahead and kick off here with our presenters. I'd like to first introduce Dr. Nick Love of Love Health Sciences, or Life Sciences, excuse me. Nick has come up with great delivery mechanisms in health, and we want to hear much more about that innovation here this morning. So, Dr. Love, go ahead, please.
Absolutely. Well, I think I have a PowerPoint presentation I'd like to share.
Yes.
Let's see if I can get this pulled up for you all. Okay. You all able to see my screen okay?
Yes, looks good.
Wonderful. All righty. So, hello everyone. I'm Dr. Nick Love, co-founder and CEO at Love Lifesciences. I'm getting a bit of feedback from somebody. I don't know if it's on my side or I think it's John Travis.
I'll mute. Sorry.
Yeah, you're fine. At Love Lifesciences, we're developing a series of hybrid injection devices targeting at revolutionizing the patient injection experience to ensure all patients are given the opportunity to love life. Over the past year, we have really been honing in on development of our single-use injection device, UniPen, which is targeting compounding pharmacies. And before we dive into really what UniPen is and why we were targeting compounding pharmacies, you guys need to kind of understand how we got into this space in particular. So initially, we set out to develop a single-use injection device that improved upon auto-injector devices. We produced a 400-patient survey where patients were administering 3.6 injections on average per week across 37 different injectable products. We found that auto-injector devices are incredibly painful and anxiety-ridden for a lot of patients, but they can be tremendously better than syringe and vial injection techniques. And so as we had identified this, we decided that we were going to develop UniPen, our therapeutic agnostic hybrid injection safety device. UniPen is a hybrid injection device in that it strips away the patient-reported pain points of auto-injectors, but then integrates control over the injection process that patients told us that they want to have. Further, UniPen is therapeutic agnostic, meaning it has the capacity to integrate a large majority of injectable therapeutics without any device redevelopment costs or timelines. This is in stark contrast to current auto-injectors like EpiPen or the Humira pen or even Ozempic and Wegovy, where those devices can take up to 5 years to develop and millions of dollars in R&D and can ultimately delay FDA submissions for drug-led therapeutics. And so as we started developing out UniPen, we were targeting small and mid-sized pharmaceutical companies because of the gap that we had identified in that space. But in November of 2023, we started getting calls from clinicians in medical spas and weight loss clinics that were prescribing compounded GLP-1 products, the same ingredients as in Ozempic and Wegovy, the weight loss injectables. And they were calling because they were concerned that their patients were overdosing on these injectable therapeutics, whether intentionally or not. And so in December of 2023, CNN published this article where there was a 1,500% increase in poison center calls solely related to overdosing on these injectable weight loss drugs coming from compounding pharmacies. This has since been escalated, and the FDA, as of this past month, has released a both public statement and a letter to all the compounding pharmacy organizations suggesting that they need to find a solution for why patients are overdosing on their injectable therapeutics. And the primary reason why this is occurring, as it turns out, is that compounding pharmacies have lacked an injection device forever. There's never been an injection device integrated into this space before. And so on the right here, you can see that compounding pharmacies are providing patients a multi-dose vial, giving them a pack of syringes, a bunch of needles, and then telling them to dose out from milligrams to milliliters to units in the syringe. And so there are a tremendous number of problems with patients obviously overdosing or underdosing on these therapeutics, causing intense side effects, hospitalizations, and then low therapeutic efficacy. On the left side of the screen, you can see what the current brand name pharmaceuticals have to offer. These are all auto-injector injection devices that either allow for dial-a-dose or pre-loaded doses, so patients do not have to concern with overdosing on these injectable products. And so as we started to dive in deeper into the comparison between an auto-injector and the syringe and vial, you can clearly see that there's a tremendous number of reasons why brand name pharmaceutics offer the auto-injector devices. They're currently the market standard in the pharma markets. They're patient preferred, they're physician preferred, and they ultimately lead to increased adherence. All of these factors which lead to increased script writing for those therapeutics. And finally, these products allow these pharmacies or the pharma companies, to take larger margins on their injectable products relative to what compounding pharmacies can take with their injectable therapeutics. And so here you can see on the right side of the screen a bunch of different advertisements coming from compounding pharmacies with imagery around having injection device offerings, but they have never had injection devices and they're not currently being integrated into their offerings for very specific reasons. So not only do these compounding pharmacies need these to help improve their bottom line, they're showing it in their advertising and marketing. And so when you really look at the problem that these compounding pharmacies are facing, it's not just that they haven't integrated an injection device, it is that it has been non-feasible up to this point to do so. Auto-injectors, as I previously mentioned, require years of development and must be developed for each drug specifically. And so that means years of development for each drug, millions in upfront expenditure for each of these therapeutics. And then finally, because the auto-injectors have to be developed specifically for the drug candidate, they require FDA combination approvals that are led by the therapeutic specifically. Compounded therapeutics are not FDA-regulated drug products, and so applying an auto-injector device to them causes them to have a huge burden in regulatory combination approvals that they must undergo. UniPen, being a therapeutic agnostic device, does not require new development for each therapeutic it is integrated with. And because it is not an auto-injector, UniPen is a hybrid injection safety device. It actually does not require combination approvals from the FDA. And this actually allows us to enter the compounding pharmacy space without inserting new regulation over these compounding pharmacies. I have a video of how UniPen is used. If you guys cannot hear it, John Lee, just let me know and then I'll kind of walk through what the video is doing up here.
Okay, will do. Yeah, we're not hearing the sound.
Not hearing anything? Okay. No. So then I can just walk you guys through what she's doing here. So this is UniPen, our single-use injection safety device. This is our character looking at the device, inspecting it to make sure that it's not broken, looking at the lock indicator to ensure that the device has not been previously used or activated. This is our medication viewing window so that you can see the medication within the device. And then she's also looking here to make sure that the product does not expire. At this point, we're showing the different injection sites that she can administer this injection into. This is for subcutaneous injectables. And so you can administer this into the thighs, the stomach, or a care provider can administer it into the backside of the upper arm. She's now holding UniPen as if she's clicking a ballpoint pen so that she's able to administer the medication at her preferred rate. She will depress the device against the injection site just like an auto-injector device, but she controls the rate of needle insertion here, which is in stark contrast to auto-injectors. Auto-injectors can cause a tremendous amount of pain with how quickly those needles are inserted into the skin, which is the reason why we allow patients to control the needle insertion rate. Here, she'll begin administering the injection by ejecting with the plunger slider here. You can see the medication scale on the side of the device that allows the patient to see how much of the fill volume is inside the product. Again, this is a manual process. We want the patients to control medication ejection because we found that there's tremendous amounts of pain with ejection that's too quick and tremendous anxiety when it's too slow, where you have early liftoff as a problem. Once she removes the device, the needle shield locks into place, as can be seen by the lock indicator turning red after the injection has been administered, and she can then dispose of the device in her Sharps disposal bin. And so that is a brief use video on how UniPen is utilized by the patient. Some of the highlighted features, which you've kind of already seen, but I can elaborate on here. UniPen provides preset dosing, which helps solve this problem with patient overdosing with compounded therapeutics. It also helps reduce preparatory time, which is a tremendous burden to adherence for injectable therapeutics when patients are administering out of a vial. Our device maintains that auto-injector look and feel so that there's no needle that the patient has to see. The needle is never exposed to the external environment, so there's no risks of needle stick injuries. We allow patients to control the rate of needle insertion, which can help reduce pain and help reduce anxiety with this process. We further allow patients to control the rate of medication ejection, again, which helps improve the comfortability of this process for patients. We provide needle shielding. So again, we reduce that needle anxiety because more than 25% of the US population has a severe needle phobia. And this further allows for improved injection aiming. So patients can administer an injection at a 90-degree angle as opposed to a 45-degree angle inserting the needle manually. And then finally, we provide needle shield locking, which helps reduce needle stick injuries. It can further help reduce aseptic technique errors if patients are trying to reuse the needle, for instance, which we have seen a lot of times with syringe and vial techniques. Our current market, so the auto-injectors market is projected at $247 billion by 2030. Specifically, we are looking at the compounding pharmacy sterile injectables market, which is projected at right around $9 billion. Even within this, our two initial products that we are looking to integrate with are the compounded GLP-1s and compounded testosterone products, which is about a $3.5 billion market. But the thing is, UniPen is a therapeutic agnostic product. And so we don't just target one of these therapeutics, we are able to target many. And so the therapeutics that you see on this page here are actually therapeutics that we are in current conversations with compounding pharmacies in regards to integrating the device. And so as you can see on the left, I think we all know how large the weight loss injectable GLP-1 market is. About 2% of the US population is already prescribed these products, and that's expected to jump between 9 and 10% by 2030. This has caused these drugs to be on shortage for the FDA and allowing compounding pharmacies to produce these products. On the right, you can see several of the other medications that we're looking at, primarily hormone replacement therapies like HGH, estrogen, follicle stimulating hormone, testosterone, and trimix injections for ED. There are a tremendous number of opportunities for injectable products in the compounding pharmacy space that our devices can be applied to. UniPen, though, is not just therapeutic agnostic, it is also volume fill agnostic. So as you can see with the devices here, you can fill this with 1 full milliliter, 0.75, or 0.5 milliliters. And this goes all the way down to 0.1 milliliters. What this allows is the compounding pharmacies to insert different formulations into the product, not just different therapeutics. So if a patient has a dose that requires a 0.5 milliliter fill volume, that patient can get that device specifically tailored to them, as opposed to me maybe requiring 0.25 milliliters of fill volume. I can also have the device tailored to my need itself. Our business model, I would say it's relatively straightforward, but it's kind of, it's interesting. So we will sell UniPen devices at the low end of market average compared to the pharmaceutical markets and auto-injector devices. We will white label our products and sub-assemble them so that they are ready for the compounding pharmacy to insert a syringe into so that patients can administer it. Once the compounding pharmacies receive our sub-assembled device, they will final assemble, label, and package the product. Each of these compounding pharmacies is manufacturing more than 10 million annual injectable doses per therapeutic line, depending on which one we're speaking with. And then finally, we are looking to expand into multiple compounding pharmacies, which is a stark contrast to the pharmaceutical markets, where you generally get locked out of specific therapeutic submarkets once you have a single product partner. Once we are within each of those compounding pharmacies, we will look to expand beyond the GLP-1 and testosterone product lines into their other injectable therapeutics, kind of a get our foot in the door, if you will. Some pieces on our market traction. This slide is actually now currently outdated as of the past couple of weeks due to the FDA warning letters regarding patient overdosing with compounded products. And so we are moving in a positive direction from where this slide currently positioned us. Whether we're talking to the compounding pharmacies, we're actively engaging large multi-site consortiums. We're in the process right now of preparing now 2 separate clinical trials with compounding pharmacies. And we are also actively engaging 6 individual 503A compounding pharmacies as well, 503A being smaller compounding pharmacies. In terms of clinics, we are working with a large clinic franchise group that has more than 200 clinics across the United States. We're working with several key opinion leaders for medical spas and weight loss clinics and consultants in that area that have identified that clinics are seeking an injection device, but do not have an option to actually receive one of those for their patients. And then finally, we're getting a tremendous number of requests from telemedicine providers and other individual clinic groups for the device itself. Then when you look at the patients and what the patients are wanting in the space, we produced an N of 96 study with patients administering compounded GLP-1 products specifically. We found that 26% of that population would change where they source their injectable products from if they had the option for a device. We further found that 24% of these patients would pay between $20 to $30 or more per dose for the option of an injection device. Some bits and pieces on where we look to go beyond the compounding pharmacy space. We have this opportunity with large retailers. This is something that we can actually intertwine with the compounding pharmacy play. So if you know anything about Costco's GLP-1 offering, Amazon, Walmart, Cost Plus Drugs as well, these are all large retailers that have an interest in an injection device for their therapeutics that are all compounded. We then have the 505(b)(2) pathway, which is effectively the generic drug pathway through the FDA, where that has already been produced on the market. And so therefore, you don't have to go through a new round of clinical studies. We've already been inquired about integrating our device through this pathway, specifically for epinephrine, so that we might have a competitor against EpiPen, so we can provide a lower cost option for patients. And then finally, we can further bridge this into the pharmaceutical markets, where we will then have a proven device. We will be able to target the $1.6 trillion injectables market. And our device positions us very well for early stage and late stage clinical trials due to that low barrier of entry of device development timelines and costs. Looking at our intellectual property and regulatory side a little bit, our international phase, we are still pending in the United States and European Union. We're in the final steps with these with our initial UniPen submissions. Hopefully those come through the pipeline in the next couple of weeks. We have already been allowed in Canada and Japan, and we further received expedited review through the patent prosecution highway. Since entering the compounding pharmacy space, we have submitted 40 new claims surrounding market-enabling designs for our device to help protect this compounding pharmacy space that we already have some really significant moat protection around. On the regulatory side, big news, you guys will all be the first to hear this outside of Love Lifesciences organization. As of late last night, we submitted for 510K Class 2 for our UniPen device. And so that will then start the FDA timer to review and then get back to us on our submission. So that was about 2 to 3 years of significant amounts of labor and work, and very proud of our team of getting everything done. This is our team. I would run through everything, but I don't want to run too far over time. But we have Bradley Hopper, Travis Sheving, John Ziabro, Sujal Shah, and Keith Baird. And we further have our advisory team. Combined, our team and advisors have more than 2 centuries of experience in developing, commercializing, and launching medical devices, and including medical injection devices as well. With that, I will leave up my contact information for you all, as well as Bradley's and Sujal's, and we're good to go if you guys want to ask a couple questions here.
That's great, Nick. Thanks so much. You might, if you think it's worth it, you might say a few words about kind of your next step. I understand that you're also looking at a multi-injection device.
Yeah, so we actually have a couple interesting devices in R&D, and our kind of lead up secondary product is a product we were calling the ARS, the Administration Recording Sticker. And without going into the weeds on how it performs this function, what this device does is it records the primary endpoint when a patient has administered their injectable product. So there is currently a product being retrofitted to insulin pens on the market for about $150 million per device. And that device records the motion of the device to determine if the patient is taking their injectable product. We have developed a very cost-effective system, less than $1 per device, that can be retrofitted to all auto-injector devices that are currently on the market. And what this does is it detects when the auto-injector is deployed, ejecting medication. And collecting that data can be applied in a tremendous number of areas. So when you look at clinical trials, for instance, you're able to provide patients an injection device and send them home for a clinical trial to be in their true environment and to be able to determine when the patient has taken their medication. And then subsequently, you could even take at-home lab values associated with the timestamps that the patients are taking these medications. On the other side of that spectrum, if you look at applying this product to a device that is already on the market. So there's a great example where if my grandma is taking an injectable blood thinner, we don't know if she's taking that medication or not. We don't talk to her every day. And so what this product allows us to do is record if grandma is taking her medication or not on a regular basis. And if she is not, we can send the family an alert that says, hey, she has not taken her medication in the past 24 hours. You should check in with her. And so there are a bunch of different ways that we can take that specific data point and apply it across the healthcare spectrum to really both improve trials and patient outcomes as well.
That's really great. So there's things in the pipeline as well as things taking off really tremendously under the current circumstances. Any thoughts from the group? I would ask Nick, what brought you to this in the first go round? What really looked like the opportunity to pursue?
Yeah, the first thing we actually went after. So when I was in medical school and business school, I was working at the KU School of Pharmacy as well. I have a background in medicinal chemistry, and we were working with injectable therapeutics, so the autoimmune injectables, Humira, Stelara. And I came up with this concept, John, as you alluded to, our multi-dose device, MultiPen. And MultiPen, the intent was to time gate access to injectables to prevent patients' ability to accidentally overdose or underdose on those injectable therapeutics. I'm not an engineer and met my co-founder Bradley shortly thereafter having that concept. And he goes, Nick, this is a phenomenal concept, but it's a tremendously intricate device. We're an unproven company. We're entering a very flooded market. And so that is what set us down the path of targeting a single-use device that improves upon the auto-injectors based upon our 400-patient survey that we initially ran. And what we were looking at doing with UniPen was simply solving this problem of patient non-adherence and non-compliance to their injectable therapeutics. And incidentally, in doing so, developed our device to be completely patient controlled, which allowed our device to be applied to the compounding pharmacy space. That was something that was not calculated at all. It just happened to be right place, right time, perfect device to be applied in that space. And so really what we were looking at doing is just solving these problems of medication adherence and non-compliance. It was something that I had seen in patients in the clinics. It was something that Bradley had seen in his family, and it was something that we just really wanted to go after.
That's really great. I invite other team members to ask any questions or make any comments you have.
Yeah, John, I'll chime in here.
Yes.
Dr. Love, wow, this is impressive. I mean, from when we heard early discussions of the work you were doing to see you submitting for 510K class 2 last evening is impressive. So I just want to acknowledge this is really good end-to-end work by you and the team. And I think you're onto something here, not only on the compound pharmacies, but this is an area that's needed some innovation. And I think, it'd be interesting to see how the anxiety plays out. And because patients have to control that, and there's anxiety in doing that as well, which is, I know why you'll continue to test this out. But I think this is a space that has needed innovation. It's one of the reasons why these injectables are so damn expensive for patients and families. And I love seeing disruption. I love seeing innovation. So that's more of a comment, but really impressive work, and good luck getting through the next stages of your trial and your submission. So well done.
Thank you very much, Dick. Very much appreciated.
Yeah, Nick, congrats on the success too. This is Kyle. One thought I had, you mentioned using these for clinical trials, and I'm sure you've already thought about this, but we could jam on it separately, is in the decentralized clinical trial space, being able to meter exactly what dose is given to the patient when they may or may not be physically present at a trial site might be an interesting place to look.
Absolutely. That is something that we have been exploring through a separate avenue as well in terms of patient messaging. But I would love to talk to you, Kyle, about that, because I do think there are some really solid synergies there.
Yeah, awesome. I know a couple of folks at Paradigm and some of the other bigger DCT kind of tech companies, so maybe there's some synergy.
Perfect. I'll shoot you an email after this.
Cool.
Hey, Nick, really just more of a comment. As you guys go to market, and not that you guys wouldn't, but really lean into the heart of the matter. I'm just even thinking as I was watching it as a parent, I know you're not B2C here, you're B2B, but that's what your customers care about, is what their customers care about. I had a kid who would climb walls almost with needles, and in 2 seconds, I would say that makes a lot more sense. So the more you lean into that in your messaging, even if you are selling to the business, it is just, don't forget that, I think would be the only comment. Not that you will, but I want to emphasize the point, but well done.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, patient centricity is in our DNA. That's why our device was developed the way it was. The business model is incidental to actually trying to improve the patients. I'll tell you a quick story. When we were looking at the pharmaceutical markets, right? and we were looking at some mid-sized pharma companies and having those conversations. We were selling, this is for patients. Everything we have done is for patients. And the very unfortunate part with some of those early conversations was the feedback of, we really don't care. We care about price, we care about the device, we don't care about the patient. And that was not only heart-wrenching for me to hear from them directly, but it very much determined that we were not going to be partnering with them whatsoever. So I do appreciate that insight, Amy.
Yeah, I mean, you have so many compelling events from a business perspective, and the layer, I mean, the icing really is the patient side of it. And, like I tell everybody from a go-to-market perspective, it's emotion creates motion. It's what gets them to buy. So, yeah, well done.
Thank you.
Great perspective, Amy. Thanks. Other thoughts? Well, this does seem like a really great advance, Dr. Love. Congratulations on this. It's not specifically digital health as we tend to focus on here, but it represents real innovation coming out of the Kansas City area directly to very important areas of things that need to be solved within health. So thank you very much for your time today and for sharing this with us.
Absolutely. And I'll give one quick plug here. We are
Sure.
wrapping up our bridge financing round right now. And we're obviously looking for key investors that can bring value to the team as well. So if you guys are interested in participating in an investment round, please reach out to me directly. We have Kansas Angel tax credits that can be applied as well. So if you know anybody or you specifically are looking to participate, we are looking to close up that round over the next couple of weeks.
Very good. Very good. Before we move along to Dr. Serrani's presentation, I'd like to allow Dick Flanagan to jump in here and introduce the annual event for Digital Health KC. It's a very important thing for all of you to consider, and I welcome Dick to tell us all about it.
Hey, John, thanks. Hey, this will just take a couple of minutes, folks. As you know, we've partnered up with KC Digital Drive, the UMKC Center for Innovation or Innovation Center, and Pipeline Entrepreneurs, really to help support broadly this community that has existed, but in our view, really needed some activities to bring everybody together. And I know a lot of folks on the call have come to our meetups, our twice monthly meetups, and our Healthcare 201. And in fact, John Travis was a speaker at one of our Healthcare 201s, and Amy Teskey. And appreciate your participation, guys. And as John and I work together, and we're trying to coordinate some of our programs going forward as well. On the 22nd of August, so just 3 weeks from tomorrow, we're going to have our first annual event, which really showcases this community and all the great companies and investors and supporters of digital health in the region. You guys have heard me on one of other John's calls to kind of just preview broadly the ecosystem that we call digital health. But what we're going to try to do, we've actually got a 2/3 of a day program starting with a lunch. We're over at the Abbott. Starting at 11:30, we're going to have presentation by Matt Soper from JP Morgan. Those of you that track the investor side of healthcare know that JP Morgan is the gold standard of record keeping and information. They run a famous conference in San Francisco, and we're going to hear from one of their leaders about what's actually happening on the digital health and the investment trends. We've got a panel of local healthcare executive, many names you'll know, CEOs from North Kansas City and University Health and Swope Health, and also from Blue Cross. So a panel on what healthcare is facing. We think that's kind of important that we baseline what's happening there. We have lots of time for networking. The room will be set up to encourage folks to get up, walk around, meet each other. We then have a presentation from BCG, the Boston Consulting Group, two leaders who will present on Gen AI and AI innovations across the healthcare spectrum, which should be, again, another, I think, very interesting discussion. And then we're going to actually be having an investor conversation with regional and local investors. That's going to lead to networking. And then we've got a company showcase. And some of the companies, again, you've heard about on this. We had a little competition for people to submit their videos. And so we have a great company showcase that will showcase both some small companies and some big companies in town that you may not have known about their significant healthcare profile. And those two are Garmin and Lockton. So we'll be hearing from there, and we'll actually be hearing from a new researcher who's joined the KU team as well, Dr. Tony Sung. So exciting news there. And we're going to finish the day with a year of turning on the lights, and we've got 4 awards that will recognize both kind of big company success, small company success, community success, and a Digital Pioneer Award. And really excited to showcase some individuals that you might know and maybe don't know so well that have really moved the meter both historically and presently in digital health. So got a lot of great sponsors out there. People have been registering. We got good registration to date. If you're in a situation where you're not in a position to be able to pay for the registration, we do have some sponsors that are welcoming some folks on. So please let us know if you can come. And if cost is an issue, let us know that as well, and we'll try to line you up with at one of our sponsor tables. So, John, thanks for the commercial for Digital Health KC. And again, thanks for all the work you're doing with this community. Back to you.
Oh, thanks so much, Dick. My pleasure. So people can register right at digitalhealthkc.org. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, I decided not to put up all the slides and stuff just to make it simple transition. But go out to our page, digitalhealthkc.org, and there's an event page. Just go down to this event, and we'll be happy to take you. If you have money, we'll take your money. But again, if it's an issue, we really just want to get the right folks in the room. Let us know, and we'll work to place you probably with one of our sponsors.
That's great. Thanks so much, Dick. Okay, this leads us to our presentation from Dr. Nima Sarani. Dr. Sarani has really thought through a alerting solution for critical situations, and we'd love to hear about it, more about it this morning. Dr. Sarani, go ahead, please.
All right. Thank you so much, John. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen as well. All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yes, just go ahead and expand it.
Okay, I will. All right.
Great.
All right, thanks again, you guys. So I'd like to tell you guys about our concept of early recognition of illness. We're calling it, for the time being, Guardian. In any type of underlying illness, the key thing is early recognition of that underlying illness, and time absolutely matters. Early recognition is essentially key in reducing mortality and improving outcomes. Signs of underlying illness oftentimes, however, goes undetected, leading to delayed recognition of illness. Oftentimes, the patients wait until their symptoms are bad enough, vital sign abnormalities are significantly wrong before they actually present to the hospital, to the emergency room, even to their primary care physician. And our goal is to identify illness before that happens. So early recognition of illness. Here are just some examples of some of the most common illnesses that have the highest cost and highest mortality and morbidity. Sepsis as one affects 1.7 million people in the United States on a yearly basis, and it results in 270,000 deaths. Approximated costs are $38 billion annually in the United States. And there's a lot of literature regarding how important it is for early diagnosis of sepsis, for early intervention. For example, multiple studies have shown that mortality rate increases by 4 to 9% for every hour delay in antibiotics. Heart disease as well is significant burden on the health system. Approximately in 2021, 375,000 deaths occurred because of coronary artery disease. Basically, 12% of people with heart attacks die. Annual cost of treating MI, which includes hospitalization, invasive procedures, medications, and follow-up care, are approximated at $21 billion. Congestive heart failure, one of the most common complications of myocardial infarction or heart attack, 1-year mortality rate is 20 to 30% and is a leading cause of hospitalization at approximately 875,000 per year, with estimated costs of over $13 billion. Lung disease, this is just one example of a common lung disease, COPD. Mortality rate for that is about 33.7 per 100,000 individuals. This was noted in 2021. An annual cost is $24 billion, and that's inclusive of inpatient care, home health, emergency room costs. Early recognition, if we can identify illness early, we can improve outcomes by multiple ways. Essentially, it allows us to implement timely intervention. This can potentially reduce complications and lower healthcare costs, improving prognosis and quality of life for the patient. How can we identify illness early? This requires continuous and regular monitoring. And there are multiple studies that have shown that regular monitoring of an individual is key to early recognition of underlying illness. So how can we continuously monitor our individuals, our patients? This is where vital signs come to play. Vital signs basically provide objective data. So this is not based on the patient's subjective information, potentially their symptoms. Some patients could have dementia, can have altered mental status. They're not really clear about their symptoms as well. But vital signs, they provide objective data and can signal presence of underlying illness. Now, variability in vital signs, those are small, consistent deviations from normal ranges, even if not immediately alarming, can indicate underlying acute and chronic conditions. For example, early stage heart disease, heart failure, exacerbation, underlying infection, severe underlying infections such as sepsis, renal insufficiency, or hormonal imbalance. So variability in vital signs matter. Now, every individual has a different baseline of their vital signs. Somebody could be very healthy, and they could be an athlete, and their vital signs is different than someone who's got a history of congestive heart failure and coronary artery disease. So we have to identify a baseline for every single individual. And then if there's a change in that baseline, then that could potentially give us a signal that there might be a brewing underlying problem going on. So what are the vital signs that we're looking at? We're looking at heart rate. So if the patient is tachycardic or elevated heart rate, it could signal an underlying, potentially underlying infection. Could be because of fever, could be because they're dehydrated, they're anemic, lack of blood cells. It could be that they're anxious, or they might be having cardiac issues. Now, if the heart rate is low or bradycardia, that could signal hormonal issues such as hypothyroidism. It could signal a potential heart block or effects of medication. Looking at temperature, if the temperature is elevated, it could signal an underlying infection or possibly an inflammatory response or a heat-related illness. If the temperature is low or hypothermia, it can signal metabolic issues such as like metabolic acidosis, diabetic ketoacidosis. It can signal a potential severe underlying infection such as sepsis or possibly cold exposure. Respiratory rate, if you're looking at elevated respiratory rate, we're looking at possibly an underlying respiratory illness. If the patient has signs of early respiratory distress, they can be tachypnic. Elevated respiratory rate could be, again, suggestive of infection, pulmonary embolism, metabolic acidosis. If the respiratory rate is low, could suggest a central nervous system problem. Could be central nervous system depression because of medication or drugs that they're on. Could be suggestive of head injury or severe hypothyroidism. And then looking at oxygen saturation. If the oxygen saturation is low, can signal an obvious potential respiratory or cardiac condition. This could be an early identification of a COPD if the patient's oxygen saturation is low, or possibly pneumonia or heart failure exacerbation. So by monitoring vital signs closely and then recognizing subtle abnormalities that are different from that individual's unique baseline, we can identify illness early so that the intervention can occur early and potentially preventing the progression of an underlying illness and, of course, improving patient outcomes. So this is the concept of Guardian. A big portion of the information that is obtained must be coming from a device that the individual is wearing. And the vital sign, the continuous monitoring of vital signs are getting inputted from wearable technology such as Apple Watch, Garmin, Fitbit, Samsung, Whoop, which continuously monitors heart rate, respiratory rate, temperature, and oxygen saturation. That's where the objective data is coming in continuously. Now, Guardian, in addition to that objective data, it adds that individual's unique medical history. This includes their past medical history, past surgical history, what medications they're on. And it takes that combination to identify the potential for an early, for an illness early on before the symptoms and the signs are becoming more obvious for the patient to actually end up going to the emergency department. Or oftentimes these individuals might not even approach or come to the emergency department, and by then it might be just too late and never actually make it to the emergency department. Guardian will function in two modes. Mode A is surveillance, which is the most important thing. So the individual has a wearable technology that's measuring baseline vital signs. They've input their unique medical history into the application, and continuously Guardian is on its surveillance mode, meaning it monitors the vital signs, identifies if there's a change in the baseline vital signs, and then given that individual's unique medical history, it will notify that individual that there's likely an underlying issue going on here. It could be an early sign of your heart failure flaring, and it would make recommendations. What do you need to do next? Call your primary care physician, or if the vital signs are bad enough, you need to go to the emergency department as quickly as possible, and then follows up with those patients in a matter of like 4 to 6 hours, depending on the acuity, to see basically what happened, how they're doing. It also functions in a B mode, which is a manual mode. You guys, I'm sure, are aware of WebMD or Google Docs, where you just go in there and put in your symptoms, and it gives you a list of differential diagnosis, which is so many diagnoses in there. Some of them are very benign, such as, oh, you might have like a viral illness. Some of them are very critical. You're having a heart attack, in which case, the individual, for example, could be a 25-year-old. We oftentimes see in the emergency department, and then they come in and they WebMD their symptoms, and they're freaking out because they think they have a clot in their lungs. Whereas for that particular individual, the chances of them having a pulmonary embolism would be significantly low, and it's likely a viral etiology. Now they have a cost of being in the emergency department, the anxiety that this caused to be there waiting in the waiting room. So oftentimes it's inaccurate. These channels out there that oftentimes patients use to plug in their symptoms, very inaccurate in result, just because there's really no specificity. There's no objective data. Whereas a B mode in Guardian takes the symptoms manually, but it combines it with that individual's vital signs and see if there's any change in those vital signs. And then looking at that individual's unique medical history to give him a more specific differential diagnosis, as opposed to widespread going in from a super benign to something that's basically life-threatening. So the idea is this: we want to identify illness as early as possible. So early recognition of illness, shown here in the green. This is the area that we want to identify the illness, so it doesn't result in all the complications. Now, illness, if it's gone unnoticed, gradually worsens and worsens and worsens, and finally reaches a threshold for the patient. They're like, okay, I'm feeling bad enough, I need to go to hospital. Sometimes patients don't even make it to the hospital, but say even if they made it to the hospital, that's when essentially that illness has gone unrecognized. And now we're at the zone of delayed recognition of illness, which has higher chances of death, disability, invasive procedure, ICU admission, prolonged hospitalization, increased costs. And there are gradual worsening of the objective data, which is baseline vital signs, and plus the individual's specific medical history. That's basically what we're targeting for early recognition of illness with Guardian. Just some data on the burden of sepsis. As you all know, it's a significant healthcare burden, but on top of it, it has one of the highest mortality as well. And oftentimes it goes, and the reason being is because oftentimes it goes unrecognized until it's too late. And the burden is increasing. 2032 is estimated at $1.2 billion per year. These are US hospitals. And then also similarly for heart disease, coronary heart disease, stroke, atrial fibrillation, heart rate, and other vasculopathies. The cost, the burden is significantly increasing. Now, you can see here that the North American Fitness Tracker market size is also increasing. So more and more individuals are having wearable devices that has access to their baseline vital signs. And this is where we're coming in to basically link that individual's wearable technology that they have on, plus their medical problems, and also looking at their variability in vital signs to ensure that if there is an illness going on, we are recognizing it as quickly as possible. We conducted 2 surveys and to kind of look to see what is the appetite basically in the general public for having a technology such as Guardian. Survey one included 212 medical professionals. Mostly this included anywhere from the techs to nurses to attending physicians and residents. 75% of them have a wearable technology or wearing a wearable technology. 55% of the total survey takers, this included 106 people that had a wearable technology, plus 12 individuals that didn't have a wearable technology. When they were introduced the concept of Guardian, they were interested in purchasing Guardian. So those individuals that didn't have a wearable technology, they were actually interested in buying a wearable technology just so that they have access to Guardian. And they also provided contact information for early purchase. On average, they're willing to pay $12 a month. If we're considering 258.3 million adult population in the United States at 55%, the targeted clients essentially is at 142 million. Survey 2 was 333 people. This is general public, so non-medical professionals, just essentially general public. Of them, 71%, which is kind of similar to the percentage for the medical professionals, wear a wearable technology. Now here, the percentage is higher, 71% of total. This is 200 individuals that have a wearable technology plus 37 individuals that don't have a wearable technology were interested in purchasing Guardian. And, you know, this kind of makes sense, higher amount for a general population being interested in purchasing Guardian compared to medical professionals, given medical professionals might have an idea as far as what are some of the bad symptoms, and they would seek care quicker. So this, to some extent, that higher percentage makes sense. They were willing to pay higher than the medical professionals to have access to Guardian, approximated $37 per month. And looking at, again, 258.3 million adult population in the US at 71%, the targeted clients would be 183 million. So the total number of potential customers, we kind of averaged the 255 and 71. So not everybody's medical professionals and not, you know, everybody is general public not being a medical professional. So kind of average the 2, we got approximately 63% of the total potential customers times the total adult population. This would be our targeted populations, 162 million, basically. And then we kind of approximated our total addressable market, our serviceable available market, and serviceable obtainable market. I'm not going to go into the details, but we got down from 23.4 billion TAM to SAM of 14.1 billion to SUM of 4.2 billion. Did a competitive analysis, and this is where I need you guys' help as well. If you guys have know of any applications out there that is similar to this idea of Guardian, please let me know. I've been doing like extensive research to try to figure out if there's such a thing such as Guardian out there, and I couldn't find anything. There are other applications such as My Vitals and Health Rate that basically, I mean, some of them you have to pay for and some of them are free. This is essentially a data monitoring app. So it takes those vital signs and creates a baseline, and it monitors that data, stores that data and creates graphs. It makes it easier for the individual to monitor if there's any changes, but also to present it to the primary care doctor. There are artificial intelligence apps such as Ada that's out there, and it doesn't look at any, it doesn't have any data monitoring, doesn't look at vital signs, doesn't look at the individual's medical problems. It essentially has a manual mode, what I basically mentioned, where the individual goes in there and puts in their symptoms, and it spits out a list of differential diagnoses, some of which are anxiety provoking and some of which might actually be the case. Except there's such a large list that there's no specificity as far as what is likely truly going on in that individual. Same goes at WebMD. Whereas Guardian, at $12 per month, and this is looking at the survey that we did in medical professionals, and it's the low end of the monthly charge. Remember, the general public were willing to pay up to $37 per month. Guardian includes data monitoring. It considers vital signs and diagnosis, considers individuals' unique history that includes past medical history, surgical history, weight, medications, Also, adding a location as well in case the patient is located at a place with a higher altitude, the potential for altitude sickness might be going on given the change in their vital signs. Also, it involves a surveillance mode where the individual doesn't have to really do anything. If there's a change in the vital signs correlating with their unique medical problems or potentially their location, it'll advise them, notifies them that there's something going on and make some recommendations, like contact your primary care physician or go to the emergency department. It also has the manual mode where the individual can go in there and specifically put in their symptoms to give a more specific differential diagnosis as opposed to something that's widespread, such as ADA or WebMD. So I couldn't really find anything similar to Guardian. So if you guys know of anything, please let me know so I can take a look into it. Here's our roadmap. I'm not going to go into details, but once Guardian MVP is created, which takes into account what we said, medical history plus the vital signs, and then the unique Guardian algorithms for heart failure, for pulmonary disease, for patients with cancer, the combination of that, we can create the Guardian MVP. We'll do a pilot just to make sure we tweak it, we fine tune it, optimize it to create Guardian version 1.0. From here, we're going to go multiple routes. One is straightforward. We'll start with marketing, try to approach health systems, clinics, hospitals, to see if they're willing to have their patients have Guardian. But meanwhile, we will approach industry wearable technologies, Garmin, Fitbit, Apple, Whoop, Aura, and Samsung to see if they are willing to collaborate with us or create a contract with us for Guardian. And that way we can expand our customers basically, given we have unique opportunity to the individuals that are wearing these wearable technologies. And at the same time, we'll start with conducting research, looking at patients with congestive heart failure and coronary artery disease, also likely renal disease as well. Conduct study at KUMC, hopefully at UMKC, Henry Ford Hospital, and Johns Hopkins. And we'll take a look to see, do essentially a trial where we'll look at patients that are having access to Guardian and patients that don't have access to Guardian to see what happens to some of the endpoints. So for example, patients that have CHF related hospital admission, what is their length of stay in the hospital? What is their mortality and the estimated cost saved for individuals that are not wearing Guardian versus individuals that are wearing Guardian. Also looking at same events regarding sepsis related hospital admissions and what is their length of stay and mortality and estimated cost save if they're wearing Guardian compared to individuals that don't have it. The results, we hypothesize that individuals that have access to Guardian, they have less hospital admissions. If they get admitted to the hospital, they have lower length of stay, they have lower mortality rate, and there's higher cost saved. That would be our hypothesis. And hopefully once we prove that hypothesis, we can approach health insurances and to see if they're willing to purchase Guardian for their clients. There's a potential for my chart feed, so the individual doesn't have to go in there and manually put in their medical problems and their medications. If the health insurances are interested, there's always a potential for hardware for Guardian. So it just hones in on the specific vital sign, doesn't have all the other gadgets that Garmin, Fitbit, and Apple and those wearables basically have, just hones in on the medical aspect of Guardian. And meanwhile, like we said, we'll continue on with our own marketing and also discussing and pitching it basically to health systems and clinics to see what is the potential basically involving those patients to have Guardian for these health systems, basically to encourage their patients to have Guardian or maybe give them or purchase Guardian and give them access to it. And this will continue on doing this type of marketing, and additional data that's coming in from our research will definitely help us improve that aspect of marketing as well. So here's our financial projections, and the target market is basically the percentage that we found out from our sum calculation. This is a targetable individuals in the US. And for year one, our users would be 355. These are the individuals that basically told us, they gave us contact information that once the application is made, they're interested in purchasing the application. So year one revenue based on $12 per month. And then year two, we'll continue on with optimization of Guardian, but also expand our marketing, have our industry pitch, discuss it with health systems as well. And we are confident that we can increase to 5,000 individuals. Year three, at that point, we're confident that at least we'll have at least a one industry contract, increasing our users approximately to 50,000. And then year four, we are confident that we'll have some contracts with health systems, but in addition, additional contracts with industry wearable technologies and increasing our customer size. That's pretty much it. That's my phone number. It's my cell phone number. If anyone wants to contact me, text, call anytime, and that's my email address. Thank you.
That's great, Dr. Serrani. I'm interested. Where do you think kind of the secret sauce is? Is it in the algorithms or in the interoperability with devices, or where does the real strength lie, do you think?
Yeah, the real strain lies in the algorithms. It requires the medical knowledge that takes into account the variability in baseline vital signs and the unique medical history of the patient to suggest a differential diagnosis. And based on that differential diagnosis, to suggest what are some of the additional action items, recommendation regarding contacting primary care physician, or vital signs are bad enough and given your history of congestive heart failure, you need to go to the emergency department now, as opposed to waiting. So the real sauce, like you mentioned, comes from these algorithm that matches the variability in vital signs and the unique individual's medical issues.
Right. Any other questions from the team?
Yeah, this is Doug Cahulan. Excellent presentation. I put in the chat, we reached 1 billion people using digital fitness and well-being devices this year.
Wow.
And so there's, a lot of people are now using these devices. The question is does it provide actionable information? And then also to help with the relationship with the clinician, right? To do actionable information. I guess one question, one in the past, some of the concerns were from a clinician's perspective, is this dirty data, is it, false positives, where you say, okay, go to the emergency room and nothing's really in trouble. So, I guess one thing is, what's the sensitivity and specificity do you have these devices, and how do you maximize health given and lower costs, right, at the end of the day?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the concept, the Guardian, will be continually optimized based on what's happening to the individual that's wearing Guardian. So it's taking that feedback to continuously optimizing it. So as we have more individuals wearing this device, we have more data as far as what's happening to these individuals and what were those recommendations, how can we fine tune it. Now, the important thing here comes from objective data, and that objective data is vital signs. We're looking at 4 things: heart rate, respiratory rate, we're looking at oxygen saturation, and skin temperature. That's an information that you can't falsify. I mean, that is an objective data. Now, taking that information and adding the unique medical problems and in the B mode plus the individual symptoms. I'll give you one example. Like if the heart rate's changed from their baseline by like 15 or so, skin temperatures increased by like 0.5, and the individual is having cough, now we're concerned that we're falling into the category of pneumonia as opposed to heart rate's not changed, skin temperature is not changed, and they're having cough. Then we're thinking, no, it's more of a viral illness, upper respiratory tract infection. If the recommendations comes for pneumonia and that individual has a history of congestive heart failure and cancer and immunocompromised status, the actionable recommendation is to go to the emergency department or urgent care now, versus that individual that doesn't have those medical problems, in which case would be contact your primary care physician, for an evaluation and possible maybe outpatient antibiotics, versus an individual that doesn't have any changes in the vital signs, in which case the recommendations is hydrate, make sure you're sleeping well, make sure you're resting. And meanwhile, we're continuously monitoring your vital signs. So if there's changes in your baseline vital signs, and now it reaches that alert where you're now actually tachycardic and you're remaining tachycardic, there's another notification that, you likely should seek help now. So there is significantly more specificity compared to some of the things that are out there, such as Ada and WebMD and Google Doc, where it doesn't take into account any type of objective data and doesn't include that individual's unique medical problems. Now, moving forward, to increase that specificity, we want to keep it obviously a high sensitivity, but to increase that specificity, it requires the research that I kind of gave an intro to, but also continuous feedback and continuous monitoring of patient outcomes to fine tune the algorithms.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was very helpful. And I applaud. I hope that things go well in this your product.
Thank you so much.
Hey, John, let me throw one in here. We had a call yesterday with Dr. Tony Sung, who is a new researcher from Duke that joined KU. You need to connect with him pretty soon because he is working on a project for folks that have been through BMT, stem cell, and things within cancer treatment. And they're very much looking for those subtle changes in temperature as early indication of rejection or other management of immunosuppressive. So he's got an exciting collaboration with some folks at Duke that use one of those measures. And I think he'd be a great collaborator for you at KU if you haven't had a chance to meet up with him yet.
I haven't yet, but thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we have a really good, unique opportunity at KU, given the complexity of patients that we see, whether they're on CAR T treatment, end stage, cancer, liver disease. And oftentimes these patients are managed for years by their doctors or end stage like heart disease, congestive heart failure. And we truly feel that monitoring these patients continuously, getting that objective data, and there's literature that's proven that continuous monitoring can avoid hospital admissions or complexity of hospital admission with longer length of stay or ICU admissions and, God forbid, intubations and other complex problems. So I agree. I mean, there's a huge opportunity at KU, and given the position that I'm working there full time, one of the faculties as well, I feel like this kind of opens up a lot of avenues. But 100%, I mean, that sounds good. I'll try to connect with him.
Yeah, and the other thing I'd suggest, look, we have Garmin in our backyard. Garmin was trying to do some stuff with KU, and I think that may not have turned out great. So we're going to work with Dr. Sung and some of his collaborators to try to get Garmin reintroduced to KU. Garmin has some of the best technology. I know there's people on this call like Chuck and others. We tend to see Garmin for the true fitness enthusiasts and the hikers and extreme sports and all that. But they've also done some things pretty uniquely compared to the Samsungs and Apples of the world. And we need, as a community, to find a better way to leverage this world-class global company that's doing personal health monitoring and management. So yeah, let's get Garmin engaged here, because you have to get those values from, hey, it's not a watch anymore, but from that wristed device.
Yes.
And I think I'm glad you mentioned my chart, because finding a way to connect it back to personal medical history, whether it's self-contributed or it's things that come from the health system, is critical, because your algorithms don't work. They work, but they don't work as well. So anyway, I think we have a lot of assets here in town, and part of what we're trying to do with John and the rest of the community, and I know you're doing some work with Jim Starsiv and getting ready for Sandbox and those things, is we're here to support you. And we also want to make sure that we're doing the connectivity. And Kyle, from Trially's perspective, the clinical trial folks want to know right away when people are having an adverse reaction to treatments, whether that be in the stage 2 centers, or whether it's out in the community or post-market surveillance. These kinds of technologies are critical to kind of advancing so much of the therapeutic intervention we have in healthcare. So
agree.
Let's support you. There's lots of good things that can come from this.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Nick.
Yeah, and just a comment, I put in the chat some things Garmin's doing. So if you want to take a look at that, and Doctor, I'll send you some information on your email about.
Thank you so much.
In space.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And feel free to reach out to me. My partner works on the Garmin watches at Garmin, so if you need an in the door connection. I'd be happy to make that for you.
Would you be able to send me your email address or text me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Dr. Srani, also the real person you should definitely talk to is Y. Lee, who runs the Garmin Labs. He's in charge of Area 51, their Skunk Works projects, and he would be super excited about this. Second, interesting, the concept of baselining, and baselining is actually based upon scenarios, and scenarios differ. And if you're locked in a plane versus competing a triathlon versus, et cetera, et cetera, the tie-in to my chart, giving you indications that, look, you're outside of this range, what's going on, you giving information saying, yeah, I was stuck in a crowded plane, I couldn't get up, we were in turbulence, it was high stress. Obviously, that would change everything. And so having that context, then maybe with geolocationing, giving you some, oh yeah, this is this again, might not give you the indications that there's something serious. Military uses case-based reasoning all the time based on scenarios, and that is something maybe for your future directions.
Thank you.
Hey, Dr. Serrani, this is Steve Kropp here at the University of Kansas Health System in the telehealth department. Great presentation. Would love, and I actually sent you a quick note on our intranet within KU. We've got a program, and we presented here through John's help on our remote patient monitoring program. So we've got a relationship with a national vendor. Would love to have a deeper dive with you and kind of see where internally we can find ways to better serve patients that are in this situation. So thanks for sharing this morning. And if you can respond to that Teams message, we'll connect sometime next week.
I will definitely do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You know what's so cool here, guys, is not only are we connecting across the community, is we're connecting inside KU, which should not, anybody that's worked in an academic medical center, worked with higher ed healthcare, it's not a surprise, but it is still wonderful to think through this. So for all the KU guys on the call, thanks guys for all you're doing. So good stuff.
Hey, Nima, nice presentation. Super cool to see it develop. A couple ideas shooting from the hip. One, Dick, I agree. There's probably an opportunity in the clinical trials space here too. So definitely keep that in mind in your go-to-market strategy. Other was, and I'll send a link. I'll try to find a link and send it. But one path on the hospital side of things is there are remote patient monitoring CPT codes that hospitals can actually bill. And I wonder if there's an opportunity for, you to charge some level of like a PMPM to the hospitals for anyone that you're doing this monitoring on, but enable them to bill at make sure your rate's lower than theirs, so they're making something off the deal, but ultimately like you're a revenue driver for them, not just a cost center. I'll try to find the CPT codes really quick and send them across, but that's one thing to keep in mind.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Kyle. The reimbursements are real and people are starting to take advantage of them. Anyone else?
I have one question. Nima, maybe
Please.
I missed it. Maybe I missed it. Are you targeting any particular disease states? Are you niching down at first, or?
So for the research aspect of things, I'd like to hone in on patients with heart disease. One of the highest readmission rates issues for health systems overall is congestive heart failure population. And there are studies that show with continuous monitoring of these individuals and doing optimizing outpatient management, we can avoid hospital admissions and complications for these individuals. So that's one, congestive heart failure. But also, I'm very interested in severe underlying infection and sepsis. These are individuals that time after time, we fail at recognizing sepsis early. We have a condition called occult sepsis you might be familiar with, and it results in the highest mortality, cost, and length of stay index across all hospitals in the nation. And the major reason is us not identifying this underlying sepsis, and it goes by as an occult sepsis, and by the time we identify it, it's already too late, basically. So that's also another area that I'd like to hone in on, because initial changes in the vital signs, changes, variability, maybe mild increase in the heart rate, a mild decrease in the temperature, or possibly mild increase in temperature, respiratory rate can, and then given that the patient's comorbidities, if they have immunocompromised state, they're on medications such as, chemotherapeutic agents, immunomodulators, or, diabetes and other medical problems. The changes in those vital signs and that unique patient can give us some signal as to there might be an underlying infection going on over here in that scenario, and potentially, improving outcomes for sepsis, mostly because we identify infection even before it becomes sepsis. So that's the other patient population that I'm interested in.
Okay, where I was going with that, and somebody on the call might know more about this, so I'm kind of going a little bit deeper than I think my brain knows. But what triggered in my mind was, is there a way to identify at like the ACO level anybody who is targeting those particular disease states just to get a gain? I don't know what market advantage that gives you, or what awareness or brand recognition that gives you if you target them, but I thought I might just put it out there.
Yeah. I think it was mentioned as well, individuals that are, on chemotherapeutic agents and they have cancer, or they're on certain drugs, that there's this particular side effect profile for that particular drug. In which case, if there is any changes in patient monitoring, if there's any abnormalities that happen, can suggest maybe a side effect occurring or a complication occurring from that disease process. But I think there's big opportunity, especially regarding cancer population, where, oftentimes these patients get pleural effusion. So fluid occurs in their lungs. There's fluid in their abdomen, depending on the metastasis. And the pleural effusion can increase respiratory rate, can increase heart rate, can definitely decrease oxygen saturation. But these patients oftentimes don't feel well because they have an underlying cancer. So when there's a change in their baseline respiratory rate, heart rate, and oxygen saturation, they don't show up to the department, to the ER right away. And we see multiple, especially in the opportunity that I have as an ER physician. I'm seeing these diseases when they're already too late, where we have to do like some sort of a invasive procedure basically to help them. So my goal is essentially to figure it out prior to it gets to the point of hospital admissions and all the complications that comes out of it, basically. But I think, those diseases, cancer, congestive heart failure, I think there's a unique opportunity to monitor these patients continuously and to alert them that there's likely something going on. Seek help.
Got it. Thank you.
There is an ACO measure for CHF readmissions, so that would probably speak to anybody that's on an ACO. And that also made me think of another thing. We've done some work with like a cardiology outpatient clinic, and it's not a huge clinic, maybe like 10 docs, but they do thousands of vital sign checks a month. They're like, the patients are literally coming in for 5 to 10 minute appointments just to get their vital signs checked.
Wow.
That would be an interesting, outpatient cardiology groups could be an interesting focus area.
Thanks, Kyle. Yeah, I figured there was something. I just didn't know how to connect the dots.
Yeah, totally.
The side. Yeah.
Out of curiosity, is there a liability issue if you have a system like this in place and you miss an underlying disease that you should have caught? Process, obviously, all these people are sick, et cetera. I'm trying to simplify the question.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I mean, there's got to be a liability agreement for the individuals that purchase the application Guardian. But also the important thing is in the recommendations that are made by Guardian. So it presents the information that it's basically monitoring and the changes that it identifies. So it says your baseline heart rate is this, and there's a change by 20. Your respiratory rate baseline is this, and it's changed by that. This is 3 standard deviation off from your baseline. It's considered as a significant change. Given your history of congestive heart failure, atrial fibrillation, this suggests an underlying problem. And then the recommendations would be, depending on the acuity of those changes, depending on the severity of those changes, it would be discuss with your primary care physician or call your primary care physician. And there's like, if you have your primary care physician's phone number there.
I understand all that, and I think that's
Yeah.
fantastic. That's not the question. The question is, yeah, if the algorithm wasn't set up to pick up some combination, it misses that combination. The patient then with severe sepsis, it doesn't matter what the condition is that we're talking about, and you say, gee, the data was there, but the algorithm missed it. Where's there a liability issue involved in all this? That's my question.
I mean, the system can never be, hoping in the version 10.0 Guardian, it will detect everything, but starting out, there is going to be misses. We're not honing in on, catching everything. We're honing in to capture more than what's already captured by the patient, right? Patients oftentimes are not understanding those baseline vital sign changes. And by having Guardian, now we increase the percentage of capturing those illnesses higher to like maybe another 30-40%. The patient might be very much in tune with their body and they're feeling not good and they show up to the department. So the system is not going to be there to capture everything. So it's going to be inevitable. There's going to be scenarios that we don't capture. And are there liabilities in that? Well, if the individual agrees that this device doesn't replace their physician's standpoint and it's there to basically make some recommendations, I think potentially we can avoid some of those liabilities. Now,
it's a good objection. It might be, Dick, you might want to connect Nima with the folks over at Illuminate, because that was something, what Stan just said was a question that I had for Matt was, how do you answer that objection? Because you'll get it, Nima.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think you need to do what you're doing. You just need to be very careful in how you're presenting the information as to what the advice is. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not telling you don't do it. I think you better do it and keep doing it.
Stan, that was one of my first questions to Nima too, and we discussed that. We do think you can protect the legal liability through disclosures, because there's a lot of apps that do that, and then they almost all disclose that we're not going to connect it. Ultimately, as he said, the goal is to get to where there's not many misses, but it's almost impossible, especially at the onset. So it's a real question, and I think it's going to take some work to get there. So it's a great question. As I said, it was the first question I had for him when we first sat down too. But I think there is some ways. There's some ways to at least cover yourself a little bit from the liability.
I'll give you a simple answer. As long as you're not going directly from an algorithmic interpretation of those findings into a direct clinical intervention, you'll have a safe path. You're not changing a medication without a physician intervention. You're not changing a pump setting. You're not changing a medication. What we're trying to break is this automagic stuff that's going to happen from monitoring without having a human, a licensed provider or caregiver in the middle to make those changes. You're in an advisory area. You'll be fine. Okay. Where you will cross over is if you all of a sudden say, automatically we do something, we dispatch something. Now you may dispatch 911, but you're not dispatching a clinical intervention. You will have a physician or another licensed provider in the middle, and that's going to give you your safe harbor space, frankly. But we can go deeper on it as you progress, but I think you're okay for now. Okay, so proceed with haste.
Gotcha.
I'm going to have to jump in and cut us off for today. Unfortunately, this has been a really stimulating conversation, and I'm very grateful for everyone for their contributions. And thanks so much, Dr. Serrani, for bringing this to us, because it really is something for all of us to be thinking about and finding good ways to be able to support you. So hopefully we'll be able to do so.
And John, I know this is obvious, but this was a really important demonstration of the power of the University of Kansas health system. Okay.
Absolutely.
We have other strong health systems in town. It was great to hear about St. Luke's Mid-America Heart, University Health. But having this research medical center here with the talent that you heard on this call and the connections is critical for the growth of this ecosystem. So MU's great too, university, all that good stuff. But I mean, really great work by the KU team today, represented very, very well.
Thanks so much, everyone. We'll look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you
Take
so
care,
much.
John. Thanks.